Super Bowl trophy. The article goes on to say, this Epstein was introduced to the spy game by Ghislaine's father, Robert, according to Mossad agent Ben Menash, who claims to have been the British media tycoon's handler. A friend of the Maxwells, Laura Goldman, further stated she believed not only that Robert Maxwell was a Mossad spy, but that Ghislaine carried on his work. Robert Maxwell is a very interesting figure in all of this, and like Epstein, he was subject to a mysterious, suspicious death. The Mail writes this. So Robert Maxwell was said to have drowned while aboard his luxury yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, in Spain's Canary Islands in 1991. At the time, the tycoon was facing major financial woes, having raided $623 million from his media company, Mirror Group's pension funds, to try and cover his massive debts. Despite the scandal, he was given a hero's funeral on Israel's Mount of Olives, attended by former intelligence chiefs, the Israeli Prime Minister, and the Israeli President. So clearly someone very connected to Israeli intelligence. From the Mail, while police ruled out foul play in his death, theories which of suicide or even a potential assassination by Mossad still persist. In their book, Robert Maxwell, Israel's Super Spy, The Life and Murder of a Media Mogul, authors Gordon Thomas and Martin Dillon suggest a conflict between Maxwell's public interests and his private role as a spy are what led to his mysterious death. They believe Maxwell was helping himself to Mossad money in a bid to recoup his losses with deadly consequences. Now, I haven't read that book in question, and it's not entirely clear to me how someone would just help themselves to Mossad money. I know it's just lying around. What's undeniable, though, is that a Mossad agent would have lots of knowledge that could embarrass the organization. If Maxwell was in financial trouble, you could see why that would be a risk for Israel. When you're in financial trouble, you're vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, people might be able to get secrets out of you. And if you have lots of secrets that would be valuable to, or that would be damaging for Mossad and Israel, what's going to happen, right? What do intelligence agencies do when they lose trust in a high-value agent? Now, I'm not sure there are many limits. Of course, working for an intelligence agency could also have benefits. In 2007, Epstein got an extraordinarily generous plea deal after he was put on trial for sex crimes against minors. The US attorney who cut that deal was a man named Alexander Acosta. Acosta would later go on to become Donald Trump's Labor Secretary. And according to the Daily Beast, this is what went down in the run-up to that appointment. Epstein's name, I was told, had been raised by the Trump transition team when Alexander Acosta, the former US attorney in Miami, who'd infamously cut Epstein a non-prosecution plea deal back in 2007, was being interviewed for the job of Labor Secretary. The plea deal put a hard stop to a separate federal investigation of alleged sex crimes with minors and trafficking. So a great deal for Epstein. Is the Epstein case going to cause a problem for confirmation hearings? Acosta had been asked. Acosta had explained breezily, apparently, that back in the day, he'd had just one meeting on the Epstein case. He'd cut the non-prosecution deal with one of Epstein's attorneys because he had been told to back off, that Epstein was above his pay grade. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone, he told his interviewers in the Trump transition, who evidently thought that that was a sufficient answer and went ahead and hired Acosta. Now, the Labor Department had no comment when asked about this. Wow. All right, so saying the plea deal, the extraordinarily generous plea deal, apparently here, Alexander Acosta told the Trump Transition Committee, oh yeah, that they told me he was intelligent, so to back off. Right? Wow. That's from Vicky Ward, who's actually written a lot of really good articles on Epstein. She's got one in Rolling Stone that I read just before we went live, which is definitely worth checking out. Jeffrey Epstein, therefore, certainly appears to be well connected to American intelligence. He is known to have met with the current head of the CIA, Bill Burns, on multiple occasions. That was in 2014, so long after it became apparent that he was involved in sex crimes. And according to his brother, Epstein had significant compromat on leading US politicians, including Trump and Hillary Clinton. On Wednesday, Epstein's brother told this to the New York Post. Here's a direct quote, so from Jeffrey Epstein. If I said what I know about both candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. That's what Jeffrey told me in 2016. So we have clear links between Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, Epstein, and Mossad, and evidence that the information Epstein gathered gave him real leverage over politicians in the United States. Now, is that how he got away with his crimes? Or is that why he was doing his crimes in the first place? Right? Is this what this was all about? He was collecting compromat for various intelligence agencies. Well, last year, the Rumble host, Kim Everson, put the Mossad allegations to Alan Dershowitz.
Many of us suspect that Jeffrey Epstein was an asset to Mossad, and that Ghislaine Maxwell was in fact an agent of Mossad. There's a lot
totally
of evidence
nonsense.
that point to this direction, and
No,
that they
there's no
were
evidence.
operating a blackmail operation in order to get very powerful people, including people like yourself, in precarious positions to where you could potentially work on behalf of the state of Israel or protect the state of Israel.
I've been working on the state of Israel. I've been working for the state of Israel since before you were born. Jeffrey Epstein once visited me in Israel. He had never been there. He didn't know anybody in Israel. He didn't work for the Mossad. The Mossad wouldn't hire him. And I hope he had videotapes of everybody, because they would show I never did anything improper. I have one other question. Are you used to having people come on your show to talk about one subject and then sandbagging them on another subject without any warning? Because it's nice to know you do that, and it will make certain that I have nothing to hide. I'm happy to talk about any of this, but I'm used to more ethical journalism.
No, we actually did notify the people who booked you onto the show that you would be asked about Epstein, and they assured us that you were aware of this.
No, they never notified me about that, and you'd have to show me that email.
Okay. One last question. Do you think that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
No, of course not. Well, he didn't kill himself without the help of some people. He'd kill himself, but he killed himself with the help of guards. He didn't do it by himself. He couldn't have done that. Obviously, though, the videos were turned off, and the guards turned their back, and his cellmate left. So I think he killed himself, but he killed himself with the assistance of some people in law enforcement.